watching Numbskull News, and today we're going to talk about the Pac-12, the obituary of the Pac-12. Now that it's good and dead, and you see, there was a lot of people over the last, I don't know, 6-7 months or so that kept saying, well, the Pac, they'll find a way to kick the can down the road, they'll dig out some kind of deal, and over and over and over again. And you can look through the past videos that I've done. I've talked about the Pac being destroyed, dying. There was no other way. I mean, like over and over again, we kept hearing, well, ESPN come back around. Well, Amazon, let's go all in on Amazon. Or, here comes CBS. Here comes, NBC Universal. And over again, I kept asking, why would they get involved? You're not going to understand them kicking the tires on the Pac-12. Just see if they can get in on a big discount. And everyone said, oh, they'll get in there. They'll make about the same money as the Big 12. I'm like, why? I mean, without any real competition, why would any linear partner come in there and offer them the same deal? Doesn't make any sense. Never did. They all came in looking for a sweetheart of a deal because there's no competition. That's why they all kept coming back around. And that's what made sense to me at the time. And of course, within days or maybe a week or two later, what was always the case? What do we always hear? That they're out. Every time it'd leak out, they're out. NBC's out. CBS is out. ESPN's out. Fox was out from the very beginning. So what ultimately did in the Pac-12, look, it was the Big Ten and the SEC getting such huge contracts. I mean, there's only a finite amount of money, for all of these conferences. There's only so much TV money before it becomes just, not feasible. And so when the Big Ten signed their huge deal, before that, the SEC signed their huge deal. That meant there wasn't going to be enough money to go around to pay 5 power conferences. Just no way. So what happens? 4 teams get to go to the Big 12. 2 more teams outside of USC and UCLA get to go to the Big 10. That was the only way it was going to happen. 4 teams are getting left out. 4 teams that no one wants to pay for. That's what, that's what we're left with. And by the way, 2 of those teams, Stanford and Cal. You're talking 2 of the biggest academic universities in the country. And all this talk about academics. It's all I kept hearing about. Academics. There's more money in academics than the sports. Okay. Then someone please tell me how these 6 schools have left that conference and left Stanford and Cal if it's all about the academics. Huh? You tell me that. Because here's the thing. Those those research dollars, they don't go to your facilities. They can't go to NIL. They can't go to anything athletically. And you know what? Doesn't go to a whole lot within the school. It goes to that research that you're doing. The facilities necessary to do the research, to hire people in to do the research, the real engineers, and the teachers to do the stuff, that teach the kids to do the crap, right? That handle the research load. Research is very, very expensive. Regardless of what field it's in, it's an expensive endeavor. So you're saying, well, they bring in billions of dollars. They're spending billions of dollars on this research. These are schools. These aren't companies. This is dumb shit. It's always been dumb shit. You don't take research dollars and make a new parking lot or make new offices, for your faculty. You don't do that. There was always a big separation between what you get athletically and what you get academically. Now, tuition, stuff like that, you can build new buildings with that. You can renovate offices. You can do all that. You can pay teachers. Your research dollars goes towards the research. All right. If it doesn't, that's fraudulent spending, isn't it? It is. So what this teaches all of us now that everybody has left their association with Stanford and Cal, that it really wasn't about academics. That's always been a bullshit excuse for everybody and anybody using it. Because ultimately had nothing to do with that. Ultimately had everything to do with an Apple deal. 100% streaming on Apple. Not Netflix, not YouTube TV, not ESPN Plus, not Peacock, none of that. Apple. And it was 23 million a school. 23 million a school with what? An arrangement to where if you get enough subscribers, you can get paid more. Again, I made a video on that a while back, and that's exactly what's happened. Now, 23 million, I thought it might be a little bit more per team, but then again, that was announced after Colorado left. So that probably cost you a couple million per school. This was always going to happen. Always going to happen. And to all the people that are poo-pooing it, like, so much for the student athletes. These kids, it's never been about the student athlete. I'm sorry, it really hasn't. I know for people in the university, it's about that. I know for the coaches, it's about that. But this has always been a business. College football, college basketball, multi-billion-dollar business. And it's been that for a very, very long time. Not recently, not over the last year or two. We're talking decades. It's been big, big business. And so I keep hearing all these, the Rich Eisens of the world and all these other people. Oh, this is, I guess this is, this is just about business. It's all about money. Of course it's about business. Of course it's about money. That's all it's ever been about, not the student athlete. People need to shut up. I was listening to The Late Kick with Josh Pate. He's not bad. Not bad. I like to look around and view kind of everything. And this guy is like, I stand with that coach from Mizzou, this hypocrite bastard from Mizzou, who, by the way, Mizzou used to be in the Big 12, went to the SEC. So we got an SEC coach from SEC land who took Texas and Oklahoma and Mizzou and Texas A&M, and is going to sit there and lecture everybody. Oh, I guess these schools, could go where they want. I thought it was about student athlete and mental health. Bitch, please. Look at the history of your own university. Look at the history of what's going on. Why did this coach, who hadn't won a damn thing, had never won more than 6 games, why is he complaining about realignment and moving? It's the reason he just got a raise to $6 million a year. He's making $6 million a year because he's coaching in the SEC. That's it. All right. If this was an HBCU or a JUCO or hell, a G5 school, he ain't making $6 million because they don't get that kind of money on their media deal. Mizzou does. They make a damn good living off their media deal being in the SEC. They won that lotto ticket. So this coach got a big fat raise for doing not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. And he's going to open his mouth. I don't need to hear anything, especially from the SEC. Not about the Big 10, not about the Big 12, and what's been going on. Because y'all did it too. As a matter of fact, the SEC started this shit with Texas and OU. And you can say, well, they started it long before the current round. What's going on now? The realignment, the consolidation. It's a new thing. I know there's been realignment before, but this is a different kind of deal. Because before, realignment would happen and all the conferences survive. They're not all surviving anymore. Regulation is setting in. The Pac-12 has been regulated to nothing. They're down to 4 teams. 4. And there's talk of the ACC coming in and taking Stanford and Cal. Shit ain't going to work. Florida State is not going to add those. Clemson's not going to vote to add them. Miami's not going to vote to add them. They're not going to lose $1 adding them. And they're damn sure not going to travel all the way across the country with their softball, their baseball, their volleyball, their handball, their badminton, whatever it is. They're not going all the way across the country, all the way to the other coast for all their non-revenue stuff to bring in Stanford and Cal, who bring you nothing. Oh, they're great academics. ACC already has great academics. They don't need Stanford or Cal for that. That's not their problem. The problem is they don't bring them any more money. They're not big enough brands to warrant that kind of ad. So the people reporting that are dipshits. Okay? Because if you want to report that, if that's what you're hearing, that sources are telling you, you need to have a little bit of your logic cap on and ask the question. So if you want to write something, an article, if you're a journalist, you want to write an article about the ACC looking at Stanford and Cal, you need to have the proper questions. Well, is everyone going to agree to add them? How does ESPN feel about this? How do all these other schools feel about having to go all the way across the country, adding on how many hundreds of thousands of dollars in travel, maybe millions of dollars in travel, just for those 2 schools that suck in the big 2 sports, revenue generating sports? You know, Stanford, it's a good athletic department in every sport that doesn't matter. Every non-revenue sport. Yeah, great. Awesome. You know, your rowing team is top notch. Great. Great. It's dumb shit that's kind of being bandied about. And there was a rumor Oregon State might find their way to the Big 12. But according to the Action Network, Mr. McMurphy, that Big 12 is not interested. They looked at it, don't really have an appetite for that. They're going to stay at 16 for a while. And I was they basically saying they're done, right? Big 12 is done. I kind of figured that. They're going to be done until the ACC thing rolls around. That's the bottom line with that. So that's not going to be an option. The only real option is the Mountain West. So let's address, the possible merger between the Pac-4 and the Mountain West. Could very well happen. It could. I don't know how Cal affords that. They're already drowning in debt. I don't know. Have a fundraiser, a carnival. I don't know. Stanford, again, that's a big hit. Could they do better independently and be an independent school? It's a tough road to hoe. Now, maybe if you add those 4 into the Mountain West, they do have a TV contract that it can be renegotiated, upon adding new schools, or if you lose a school, it could go down or it can go up. So is it inconceivable you add those 4 and all of a sudden you're at about $12 million a year per school? Maybe. Maybe could you add some interesting schools out of the AAC, maybe SMU or Rice or UTSA or Tulane, some schools like that. Maybe that could work out. Make whatever that little merger is into, its own little super conference. Maybe that happens. And by the way, Oregon State, there could come a time down the road where the Big 12 pulls your number. I don't think it's a done deal that they'll never get to the Big 12 or never get back to the power level, because right now they're not. So those 4 schools, I don't know if they're going to hang together or not. They're probably their best chance is to hang together into the Mountain West, try to make the best of what you got there and prove to the world that, hey, we're still Oregon State, we're still Stanford, or the other two schools. And prove to the world that you're still worthy for the power level. Because, I mean, Oregon State's done everything they need to do to be worthy. Unfortunately, they're in Corvallis. They're way the hell up there. They don't have a national brand. Unfortunately, they were playing in the Pac all these years, and the Pac was just horrible at promoting their own schools. Bottom line. Because, I'm sorry, Utah should be a much bigger deal than what it is. All right, it should be. Now, I know who Utah is. I know what they've accomplished. And I think most college football fans do know, a little bit of that reputation precedes them, but it should be a bigger deal. It should be a much bigger deal. I mean, I hear, for whatever reason, I hear more out of Mizzou and things about Mizzou or Arkansas than I do out of Utah. And Utah has a way bigger chance, whether it was in the Pac or now in the Big 12, to get to a college football playoff than Mizzou or Arkansas will ever think about or dream about. Because they're not going to get through Alabama and LSU. They're not going to get through this minefield of freaking teams that can crush you in a second in the SEC. It's just not happening for those schools. Sorry. Anyway, the Pac-12's dead, and I'm glad they're dead. They needed to die. It's the best thing for the Big 12. And don't listen to these people. Oh, it's so sad that this conference is gone. Who cares that it's gone? Who cares? Change happens all the time. Get with it. What does that mean? It means the Big 10 now goes to the West Coast. What does that mean? It means the Big 12 now goes damn near to the West Coast. goes all the way to the desert. Into the mountains. It's the way it is. Expansion. So the next time you have a natural light, a Coors Light, a Miller Light, whatever you drink, pour a little out for the Pac-12. And remember, Numbskull says, it's okay. It's okay. They can die. Everything is. And it was their time. And now, it's the Big 12's time. Tough shit. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap. I'll be back with some other crap later. Bye.